We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
This is GNN, the Gender Neutral Network, bringing diversity from domination.
Well, welcome back, ladies. Wasn't that a fun program we had last week? I tell you, I got so many contacts and emails and texts from everybody across the continent that I decided it was just time to get another compilation together of fashion. We just keep getting these things from the government's authorization office, and it's just amazing how our technology has advanced to the point where they can make material that actually shows movements, it shows all of these beautiful color schemes. And they also pushed us about doing another one because we're starting to see sort of a flux of interest even from the male population, although we don't encourage this sort of contact between us and them unless their masters choose that they be permitted to, but we're getting a lot of good feedback on that. And today we're going to do another program on the ever-increasing fad of male dominance fashion. I mean, we're saturated, aren't we, gals, by the amount of things that we ourselves can purchase as freely as going out and buying something to eat. And you know, it's becoming a little more of a self-guilt complex. We're looking at the male, and some of us are starting to think, well, you know, they do have interests, and though we do control what they say and do and how they think, they have interests. And as I said in the last week's program, there are reports going all over the Government Information Office that men do meet each other, mostly after dark, and we don't know where. But it's not something where they're getting together, as we've heard, to plan any kind of a revolt or any kind of real subversive issue. It's them wanting to talk with each other, because you and I both know as ladies that we pretty much control them staying in our homes. We don't allow them to wander around unless we're with them. And now they seem to have the ability of having self-interests, this kind of unexplainable attitude of individuality. We have always pretty much bred males to submit to us in every regard, and that they've been complacent in that regard for many a century. And now all of a sudden we're starting to see this influx of individuality coming through, and they do submit to us, but they're also having personal interests outside of what we are controlling them with. And that's why on this network, it's obviously called the Gender Neutral Network, we're trying to push not only on the female but also on the male counterparts that you have personal flares and interests that you may or may not want to express. And again, it's still up to your masters to decide whether they will let you do that or not. But we're trying to keep an open forum between both genders on this network to give both sides the opportunity of giving feedback of how they interpret themselves, how they interpret what they expect their male slave or their male child to represent about them. Yes, that is absolutely true, ladies, when we say that what your male looks like in public represents you. It reflects you to those around you. And maybe indirectly, we might be even helping the male to feel more a sense of pride in themselves. Again, we don't encourage this sort of attitude, but we wanted to make sure in this follow-up fashion that as you see these representations on your screen, that you keep an open mind of saying, this could be a reflection of your male, this could not be maybe a reflection of your male, but it's really about you. You choose what you're going to buy for him to wear, and it should reflect how you see yourself. It shouldn't be what he wants, because we're not encouraging that. That's absolutely not in the equation. This is about you saying what you want your male to wear, and they will wear it. To those males that are watching this program, we don't know whether your master is letting you. You know that you are in a position to be reconditioned if you show any attitudes of subversion towards the government or even towards your own masters. For the younger male children who watch, you are subjected, obviously, to spankings if you do not comply with what your mother figure master tells you to do. And we're trying in this program today to give you some ideas of what newer fashions are available, but it is not in any way to create any mentality in your hearts that, this is sort of like we're opening an opportunity for you to be more expressive, to be more an individual. It's not happening that way because I know the government is cracking down on these locations where men are actually meeting, and there are very clear presence of male children being with these men, males in these secret meetings. They haven't had any raids, as far as I've heard, unless the government probably is tracking down massive groups meeting in major cities across the world. And we will continue to keep you updated if this becomes more of an issue or more of a problem. But I can tell you, ladies, as you've been watching these beautiful, complex patterns of color and motion. It's just inconceivable to think that we'd ever be able to kind of max out this ability of creating these styles that we know men will love to wear, because it's going to be us telling them to. It's going to be us telling them what they will accept because they have no choice. And how many times throughout the centuries has women been saying to men, "You're here as our scapegoat, our personal slave, our personal property. You will live the way we tell you to. We will tell you what you can and cannot wear, where you'll go, what you'll eat." Because it's about us. It's about us as women deciding what everything will be like. And I think in this program we're trying to be kind of fair, going an even line between both genders and saying this is their side. We're not encouraging it, but then again we're saying maybe they have some follicle of thought in their lives that they feel like they want to say something. And, perhaps later on in the programs that we do, they might allow this sort of interaction between the master and themselves. But as far as right now, we're giving the women, the female who is watching this, the total, complete option to choose whether or not you will allow that or opt out and say, no, I will not allow my slave or my child, my male child, to interact in this regard, because control is entirely yours. It is not up to the male to decide anything. I mean, he is nothing. It's all about the woman, the female. We've done many shows in the past couple of weeks showing how totally dominating we are as far as our lifestyles, our fashions, everything about ourselves is just superior to anything that a man might ever want to be, or a small boy would want to be, because it's about us deciding that. And these are pretty much classic styles. We've had these many past shows, but also many past decades that we've had kind of a resurgence of certain fashion, because we like it as ladies, but also the male seems to be consistently complacent about it. But as we find out more from the government as far as what they will tolerate and not, we will certainly show it to you, and then this way you can decide for yourself what you want to do next. But on behalf of Gender Neutral Network, we appreciate this chance again to share with you all these beautiful styles. And you have your number on the screen if you wish to order any. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just been told by our producer that there's an emergency that's happening here within the city limits. Right now we've got a picture on the screen. You can see it. They've just sent the emergency alert signal to everybody. Apparently they have now located this most secretive rendezvous location that the males have been using to locate outside the city limits to meet each other. We don't know much more of what is happening. You can see this picture is really fuzzy. The producer is telling me that the picture is being sent from a secret camera that some informant has placed within their private rooming area that they meet each other at, and that this is as clear at present that we can get. They are advising all subordinate groups that are on active duty to prepare to make an emergency raid of this facility, and the government isn't saying where it is because they obviously don't want to give the slaves or these young boys a chance to get away. And as I learn more information from my producer, I'll pass it on to you. this is rather an exciting event because we've heard about these things happening for several months now, and as it's turned out, the majority of the public believe that these have been actually happening for many decades, if not a millennia. In other words, the assumption is that men and young boys have had a feeling of independence. We hate that word. Where they want to be more than what we allow them to be. And it is kind of scary. My producer is just whispering in my ear that the government is at present mobilizing all of the emergency alert forces to these positions. As you know, they will be reconditioned once they're actually arrested and charged with this unauthorized assembly. And the young boys, as I've been told, will probably be spanked and then sent back for reconditioning as well. It's surprising, though, that they would take such risks because, as you know, our system of government very clearly restricts any type of male expansion, meaning that they aren't permitted under our laws to be educated, to have the opportunity for advancement psychologically, physically. We pretty much control them, and of course that's how we always have wanted it to be. And this to have come about, it's shocking that the government has really cracked down on these types of assemblies so fast. We thought it would take forever to get people in there and identify where they are. And then there's that bigger question I'm sure you ladies are asking yourselves, who was the informant? Well, you know that there are some men who have this overbearing view that they are more than they really are, and we have to pacify some of them and use them in order to have the long-term goal of making them submit to our superiority, to our domination over them. And whoever this is that informed on his own gender will probably be placed in with them eventually, because no matter what we try to do to make them feel like they are superior, it is all for the same outcome, which is to beat them back into submission and to make them more docile and complacent. So it's all an end to a means to subjugate men back to where they've always been. It's an ongoing thing. They aren't telling me anything new of whether or not the subordinate groups have arrived. We don't know that. It'll probably change rather quickly on the screen once they arrive, though, because the producer now is whispering to me again that they want to observe as long as possible what goes on at these meetings. It's very hard to make out what they are saying. I don't think there is any audio. The picture, though, as I say, is in a concealed location, so I'm sure they felt like, hey, at least we know what they're doing and where they are. And it looks like they just pretty much talk amongst themselves, possibly gossiping, as men do, between themselves about different things, possibly maybe what we are talking about right now, which is the fashion that they are given the opportunity of wearing and other such things. It is just unclear if this activity of them meeting is more than it just being a social type of interaction with their own gender. I cannot get a real clear understanding of what this is about. I'm sure the government will tell us all about this in the days and the weeks ahead as they probably interrogate each of them. I don't think there's any chance, though, ladies, that any of your slaves or the young boys in your family will probably face any long-term isolation, or I don't think it's going to last. All they need to do is to be beaten back into submission again, and I think this whole thing will end very, very quickly for everybody. And then you'll be able to continue your place in society of maintaining total control over your male slave, your small boy, and do whatever is necessary to keep them in line with what you expect them to be and what you expect them to become as they grow older, grow up in the place of boys. Your daughter is definitely going to be a very high priority person to maintain control from her perspective also of any boys in your family. She obviously learns very quickly of her place as the dominant figure over whatever happens between those two siblings in the house. And this now having come out, perhaps it might gain even more strength to your young daughter's position, that now she has even more control over what her brother does in the house and what his place is now that they have been found out. It is going to be fascinating to watch this unfold in the next weeks. I'm not getting anything more. It looks like that the military and the subordinate groups have still as yet not raided this particular facility. They tell us, though, the government office is informing everybody they know where it is, and it is going to be an ongoing event. They say don't be surprised if the picture goes out. They don't want anybody who has any feelings of sympathy or compassion for the male population of our world to feel like this could be something they can use against the treatment of the male population. They're all the same. We know what their positions are, and if they can't live the way we expect them to, then that's the only outcome. It's going to be either reconditioning, severe punishment for young boys, the reconditioning process, it's very difficult. It's very lengthy. It requires repetitive treatments to make sure that they are compliant, complacent, and totally submissive to their masters. And as it continues to unfold for them, this streak of defiance, it'll go away. We expect that. I don't think there's going to be anything to concern ourselves with. I have run out of time on our show today, and I hope you have enjoyed those newer styles that we've actually gotten from the government information office, and we'll keep you advised.